Good morning. It's been a couple of weeks. Things have been nuts. It's been great. I'm closing on some real estate deals, and I'm really excited about that. And it's a reminder. I love real estate for so many reasons. It In real estate, you can be working for hours, days, weeks, months on things, and not see anything in return because you're working on big deals. And then sometimes you can go in quick succession in a few weeks and work through quite a few deals. It's amazing how it can work. But here's the cool thing about real estate. Over time, for every hour that I'm investing in the real estate, I'm putting lots of time, active time into it, making money that way. But as you work at real estate, your time goes down, the amount of time you put into it, and the amount that it gives you goes up. So correspondingly, you get paid great per hour, even when you're not closing deals, because the deals that you do close on, you get paid a lot for. And I love that about real estate. And actually, I want to bring out, before I get to the main focus for this week, I want to talk about, in my comparison, I want to talk about how wealthy people and poor people think about payments. The poorest people in our society, I'll talk about North American society, and the poorest people in North America, in Canada, wherever it is, tend to think about money. If you ask them how much do you get paid, they'll talk about how much they make in an hour. I make $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it is. If you talk to people who have a little more money coming in, they're a little bit, let's say, richer, they've got more money coming in, they're wealthier. I'm not going to use the word wealthy, because to me, wealthy is about net worth, whereas riches is just money, okay, coming in. So people who have a little bit more tend to say, I get paid by the paycheck. Every paycheck, every 2 weeks I make some money. And then if people who are kind of middle class and they talk about, I make so much per month, or I make so much in salary, or I make so much per year, right? And then if you talk to people who start to get to be really wealthy, they start talking about, well, I'm working on this deal and it'll take maybe a year or two to close, and this is how much I'll make. And you talked about super wealthy people, they say, I'm going to build a business and it's going to take 15 or 20 years to build, or I'm going to sit on this land, or I'm going to work in this, and I'm going to work and put in time for sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 years. But when I get paid out, it's an astronomical amount of money. So that's one thing that I want you to think about, relating to the story that I just told about all these hours that I'm putting in. Sometimes I see something for it, sometimes I don't. It is always worth it, in my opinion. Now, aside from all the skills that I'm learning and all the growth that I'm doing, now as far as this week goes, I want to compare gold and real estate. And in gold, I'm going to put a large group of commodities, okay? You can say gold, you can say commodities in general, you could say art, you could say, what else could we say there? We could say, here, I'm going to look at my notes here really quickly. Okay, that took longer than I thought. You could talk about baseball cards. Basically, it's all these things that have some kind of value. Some of them have had intrinsic value, like gold is a great conductor. Because it's a great conductor, it's used in phones, you can find gold in us. We each have, the average person, if they weigh about 70 kilos, has about 0.2 grams, I think, or 0.2 milligrams, or something like that in our body. I think it's 0.2 milligrams. It's a really small amount of gold, but we all have trace elements of gold in us. And what scientists believe is that it's a great conductor, and we use it for conductivity in our bodies, electrical conductivity. Now, what are some of the basic advantages of gold? Well, it is small, so that you can carry it in your pocket, and a small amount of gold in your pocket can actually be worth quite a bit. So you can transport it. You can't transport real estate, right? You can't just like put it in your pocket, run away, sell it or trade it, or do whatever, right? So that's a huge difference. Another thing with gold is that it's fairly liquid. You can go to a lot of places. It's not as liquid as fiat currency. It's not as liquid as maybe stocks that you can trade and get your money out in seconds. But it's fairly liquid. You can go to most places on the planet and people will recognize, they'll test it, they can recognize it's pure gold, and they will trade you something for it, okay? You can trade a lot of things for it. If you're in trouble, you could trade something for it. The biggest reason people buy gold is typically it is a hedge. People call it an investment. Gold is not an investment, in my opinion, okay? An investment puts money in your pocket on a consistent basis. Gold is not an investment. It's a speculative hedge against inflation. That's what it is, or volatility. So when you buy gold, typically people buy gold because they're afraid something might happen, and it's kind of an insurance policy. If stocks go crazy, they drop in value. Well, the gold is kind of, it's not completely tied to money, but it goes up, seemingly goes up in value as the dollar loses its value. Okay, so concurrently, if I'll give you an example. My dad always talks about how, I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but he always used to be able to buy a pop and like a hot dog for like 10 cents when he was a kid. Well, that it costs a lot more. It costs a lot more. It doesn't actually cost anymore. The value of money has decreased over a period of time. It's called inflation. And because of that, if you hold gold over a long period of time, that gold retains its value. And there's no difference really between gold and a loaf of bread or anything hard. If you've got it and you can keep it over a period of time, and it can retain its value. Now, the problem with bread is it goes bad after 2 days. Whereas gold, it doesn't tarnish. It looks just as good day 10 or year 10 or year 10 millennia, right? Like, it's the way it works. So people like gold. Now, again, I think it's a speculative hedge, meaning that people play it like it's a game. People play it as if they're going to win a lot by something happening in the world. To me, it's not the way I view wisdom when it comes to investing. The hope and pray strategy is not my favorite strategy. My favorite strategy is to control as much as possible and understand what is most likely going to happen, and have lots of ways to have income. Gold only has one way to make money. It has to rise in price, and you have to sell it. When you sell gold, guess what you have to do? You have to pay taxes. So we've talked about this a little bit with stocks as well. But with real estate, let's switch to real estate. There are some disadvantages and advantages. Some of the disadvantages are gold's advantages. A house, you can't put it into your pocket. It's not as liquid, although we talked about the home equity line of credit or the line of credit on property in general, that you can take money out just as easily as the stock market, sometimes even easier, because you don't have to wait for a sale. You don't have to wait for anything. You can just trade it and get out, or not trade it, just take the money out. Now, a property or real estate has some advantages that gold cannot touch. If I had a big block of gold, and I was a great salesperson, I worked really hard to convince you that you can rent this gold from me for only 5 cents a day. 5 cents a day, you can rent it from me. Is that a good deal? If you're probably saying, that's a terrible deal, Mark. I don't want to rent your gold. Because there's no value to you to rent it out. Unless you're like showing it off to somebody, right? Or making some kind of status symbol. Trying to impress somebody. With houses, with property, with real estate, any kind of real estate, you can rent it out. Even empty land, you can rent out to a farmer for a bit of money. It doesn't give you very much, but it can give you a bit. So a property you can rent out, real estate you can rent out. You cannot collect rent from gold. Also, with property, and I'm going to go through this probably in a few weeks. I'm going to talk about all the advantages of property and how many ways you can make money at it, because this is really where real estate stands out from almost every other asset class. I told you, I hinted, I think, there is one other asset class that does a really good, it gives real estate a run for its money. And I will introduce that a little bit later, okay? But with real estate, you've got many ways to make money. Gold, there's only one way to make money. With real estate, you're saving on taxes, and you're able to rent it out, and you're able to depreciate it to save even more on taxes, and you're able to have leverage. You can't leverage gold. I can't go to somebody and say, hey, listen, how about you be the bank for me? And I'll give you 1/3 of the value of the gold, and you just let me have it. Most people are going to look at you like you're nuts again, because it's not a great investment for the lender. Whereas with real estate, it's still a good investment for lenders. This is why lenders have always done it, and most likely always will lend on real estate. So real estate has a ton of advantages that gold cannot touch. But here's the thing. Real estate is just as good, if not better, a hedge against inflation that gold is. Same thing happens if you talk to your grandparents and talk about how much they bought their property for, and think about what the value of that property is now. It has not gone up in value. It's the same value. The same people live in it. The same amount of people live in it, generally speaking. But as the dollar's value has decreased, the property's value has stayed the same. Okay? So seemingly it looks like it's increasing. It's the same value in so many ways. Really cool thing is that when you are renting out, even if you could rent out gold, who's going to pay for it? Okay? Someone's going to pay for it. You can't use it to pay off a mortgage or anything. When you rent out a property, somebody is giving you money that you can use to pay off your loan. That's an amazing concept. Somebody is paying you enough that you can pay off your loan and keep the property, and equity is growing in it. All these magical things happen with real estate. Now listen, I'm hinting at all these things later on in the series because I really want you to understand how great an investment real estate can be if it's done properly. The way it's done properly is you have to understand it fully. Most people treat real estate like gold. Most people treat real estate like stocks. They buy it and hope that it goes up. That's not the way to do real estate. Of course, hold on to it for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. And it will go up in price. In value, that's a little bit different, but it will go up in price. You can add value to it. And with gold, I can't do something to it and add value. Actually, that's not true. With gold, I can mold it into something else, right? I can mold it into jewelry and there's more perceived value there. Well, guess what? You can do that with real estate too. You can add value to it. So I guess that's kind of a saw off there. I'd love for you to give me different thoughts on this, different challenges in how I'm thinking about this. Some people talk about gold as a stock and that you want to buy paper gold. You buy stocks of gold or stocks in a gold company. I really recommend against this because now it's just like the stock market. Who's holding the gold? What happens to the gold if things go kind of crazy? Most likely you'll never see it. A property is something that I love about it. Even if the house burns down, even if the building burns down, you still have the land. The only way to lose property, if you're doing everything right, the only thing outside of your control, really, fully outside of your control, is if there's some kind of war and some kind of government manipulation takes place where they take the property away from you with force, physical force. That's a lot easier to do with gold than it is to do with real estate. I, as you know, am fully biased with this. So again, I welcome you to challenge me. I think that real estate has a lot to offer. I'm going to share, so here's the hint again, 2 things that I'm going to share a little bit later on. I'm going to share all the different ways that you can make money in real estate. And then secondly, I'm going to share the other asset class, the other investment opportunity that compares in some ways with real estate. In some ways, it's far better than real estate. But in some ways, real estate is better than it. I'll share that in a later video. It won't be next week, but I'll share it in a little later video. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your week.